another episode of the Believe series, because I know that I can tell you all day long that new levels of money and wealth and cash flow and living life to the fullest are available to you, but you may not take my word for it. And so I'm trying to bring as many people on as possible to share their journeys with you, recent journeys, not old school journeys, journeys within the last few months, last years, things that they've been doing. And so I have one of my incredible clients here today, Wendy Sterling, who's going to be sharing her story. But before we get into Wendy's story, I want to just share something with you guys. So Wendy, I'm going to take you off for just a second. I'll bring you back in just a minute. The biggest thing that I want to share with you, again, is once you see what's possible, you can never unsee it. And so I want impossible to be your new normal. I want you to wake up day after day, month after month going, wow, I did something else that once seemed really far off for me. And that could be about money. It could be about how you live, where you live. For my clients and for me, it started with money. It started with the money conversation. And so that's why we lean into that so much, because I believe that money in the hands of good people will change the planet. And that's what we're here to do. I am here to shift the wealth code, not just for my family and future generations, but on the planet. I want to normalize average, normal, everyday people who are creating millions and millions of dollars for themselves, and then the ripple effect of what that will be, ripples and ripples of impact. We get to give into the causes that we believe in. We get to live lives and change trajectories of our entire families so that they are people who, you know, have the silver spoon in their mouth. How cool would that be, that your family can say that because of you? And so I want to give you an invitation to join me for my event that's coming up. It's going to be virtual again this year. It's called Game On Live, and it's the place you want to be if you are ready to blow your own mind with what's possible. If you want to learn the strategies that my clients and I are using and have used throughout the pandemic and all of this year, last year, to create millions of dollars. Listen, I had $1 million month. We have created over $2 million just in the last 12 months alone using simple, straightforward strategies. One of my coaches likes to laugh at me and giggles. He's like, so you created $1 million business using Facebook Messenger and a journal? I'm like, basically, that's how it happens. But there's so much more to it. And so some of that, we're going to be talking about that today with Wendy, but I'm going to be walking you through these strategies step by step by step. And then the most important part of it is the beingness of it, because I believe it's not completely about what you do. It's about who you're being when you're doing it that changes everything. So I'm going to throw this up because this price point is about to go up. You can still, we're doing pre-registration for Game On Live. You can save $1,000 on your seat to Game On Live. It just popped into the chat. It should have. Go to gameonliveevent.com. You don't have to put in a code or anything. You save $1,000. You can get your ticket to spend 3 days with me for $297 learning these strategies. And I will tell you, at Game On Live, we have people who are making money in the room. No one who comes to that event, it's a promise of mine. You can count on it. This is the third time we've done this event. Is this the fourth or the third? It's the third time we've done this event, and no one walks into that room and leaves the same. You don't want to miss it. GameOnLiveEvent.com is where you want to go. I think Friday, the price point increases by $200. So it's going to go up to $497. We're not always telling you when it's going to increase. If you get that sense in your knower that you want to be in the room, go do it. Okay. I'm going to bring Wendy back up. Hello. We're going to have just an open, honest conversation here. Like, I don't have a script. I don't even have like a list of questions. I think Wendy's the perfect person to do this with, because I believe, you know, once you see a thing, you can't unsee it. And that you got to hear it from different people, different journeys, that life was one way and now it's different, and how fast it can freaking happen. So many people tell you that it takes a long time, but it can happen like that when the right things are in place. So first and foremost, Wendy, why don't you share who you are and what you're up to in the world?
Sure. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you, Shamika, for having me on. I'm very honored to be here with your audience today. So I am Wendy Sterling. I am an international divorce coach. I am the founder of the Divorce Rehab, and I am a life transition specialist. I'm also a speaker. I am an author. I am the host of my own podcast, which is called The Divorce Woman's Guide. And this entire business of mine was created about 4 years ago after I went through an unexpected life transition called divorce. And what I have learned over those 4 years is that divorce can be the most empowering experience that we go through to truly design what life it is that we want from a place where we discover our identity and voice so that we choose to live a life that we want instead of feeling stuck in the one that we have. And so what I have done over the last 4 years is document my own process of healing from my unexpected divorce and created my 5-step proprietary program that I now walk women through. So I coach them privately one-on-one. I also have a group program. I host workshops. I'm hosting my first retreat in a couple of weeks in Arizona, which I'm really excited about. That's all about rejuvenation, relaxation, community. And, it's been my own journey that I get to gift upon all of my clients. And, my belief when you're going through a major life transition, such as divorce, is that there isn't just one way that you get to heal. It actually takes a combination of different ways. And so that's what I've comprised and put together with my program. And by working in corporate, I had worked in corporate and decided that with my divorce, it was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed to start my own business and to start doing something for myself. So I launched my business about 2.5 years ago after my own journey of healing and created a 6-figure business in 2 years. And here we are today.
So good. So I want to talk about how we met, but first I want to do a celebration. So we get on the call. I love this with all of my clients. So they're so nonchalant about it. Like, oh, don't mind me. I was just closing a 6-figure sale. So we get on the call and Wendy's like, yeah, so, I just had a $17,000 day. So I'm like, yeah, girl, did it.
I
told you guys that she has been breaking records upon records upon records, earning records for herself, income records for herself, types of clients that she's bringing in. And then to get on the call today, and she's like, today's a $17,000 day. And we get that for the average person, especially in America, where we are, that is not normal. And we were having this conversation about the face of wealth changing. And I feel like we are that new face of wealth for obvious reasons. First and foremost, especially here in America, I'm going to say that because I have clients from all over the world, wealth looks like old white men. Let's just be honest. Okay. And when you think about wealthy people, I'm talking ultra wealthy. I'm not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not talking about down the street wealthy. I'm talking ultra wealthy people who have built generational wealth, because that's what we're talking about, using our businesses to create generational wealth that spans 10 generations. You wouldn't think of someone that looks like Wendy or someone that looks like me, right? You would pop in your head when you think titans of industry and people who live on that level, you probably would pop in your head and the first names out of your mouth would be old white men. So I believe that we're shifting that. We're shifting the wealth code for the planet, where different types of people are able to create lasting generational wealth. And that's so cool. So I celebrate you.
Thank you.
I want to talk about how we met.
Yes.
Do you want to share the story?
Sure. Well, Facebook reminded me 2 days ago that it was 2 years ago. So Shamika and I met at an event in Palm Springs. And it's interesting because it was a very last minute gut instinct, just push for me to go to this event. A friend of a friend had told me about it, and I didn't have my kids that weekend. And rather than sitting home by myself, I was like, well, Palm Springs for a weekend, sign me up. And being in a room of entrepreneurs, sign me up again. And so I decided to go. And I remember you from the first day of the conference. And I remember I walked to where like the ballroom was where it was being held. And you were so noticeable. You had on your black leather pants, you had on your Christian Louboutin shoes, and your purple hair, and you were taking selfies. And I was like, who is this human being? I was so captivated by you, but it was your energy, right? And lo and behold, we ended up, I think, sitting next to each other the next day. And then the last day we wound up hanging out, and you were like, we got to go, Forbes Riley was there too. And you were like, we got to go hang out with Forbes. I was like, okay, let's go I didn't even know who she was at the time. I was like, let's go hang out with Forbes. And, and then all of a sudden it was interesting though, because the whole time you were there and I was asking you about your business and what you were doing, like in the back of my head, I was getting goosebumps. In the back of my head, I kept saying like, I'm going to be working with this woman. Mm-hmm. It wasn't now, it was when, right? It wasn't a no, it was not now. Mm-hmm. And I remember that the last day of the conference too, like we walked out together. You went to your car, I went to my car, and we connected on Facebook, and I kept watching you. And it was when I was ending a program with another coach that I was like, there came Shamika on my Facebook feed. And I was like, it's now's the time. And I mean, how long was our call? It was like 5 minutes. And I was like, where do I sign? Like, it's now. So yeah, it was just the universe popped in and just connected us very unexpectedly.
I love that. I love the power of Facebook. Like, it's not just Facebook, but it's the online space, social media. When you use it right, it does become like the beginning of a funnel. Yeah. And most people are just so anxious to like get clients. If you use it correctly, people will watch and then eventually end up becoming clients over time. That's where you make your offers, right? In your social media feed. Yes. I remember that I was there because I was at a prefaces of like, you've got to be bigger, more people need to know you. And I just had this belief, and some of you may have this belief, so I want to share this. And this belief was that my work was so powerful, like with me connecting with people intimately that I work with and mentor, that I had this belief that if it got bigger, that it would lose its potency, that I would lose the potency of the gift that God gave me. And something inside of me knew it wasn't true. However, I still kind of held it. And so what I decided to do, I don't know if I saw a Facebook ad or what for this particular event. And it was in Palm Springs. It was like the week before it was supposed to happen. I got the email and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to get a hotel room. I'm going to go down there for 3 days because there was over 1,000 people registered at an event. Now, up until this time, I had only been in the room of events in this space that had about 300 to 400 people, maybe 400 to 500 if I count Suzanne Evans' event. That was the max. And it wasn't very intimate. And so it was anchoring this belief that you couldn't have power and be powerful or have powerful impact or transform people if you were doing it with a multitude of people. I don't know how that's true. Jesus did it. So there's that. But I still had that belief. So I show up in this room and there's all these people and I'm alone. It's just me. I'm by myself. I do end up meeting Wendy in that hallway. I think I took selfies. You probably took a couple of pictures of me. I took some pictures of you. We ended up going our separate ways and then somehow ended up sitting next to each other. I don't know if it was that day or the next day, probably the next day.
I think it was the next day.
But I just remember being in that room and watching this person really transform people's lives. And so we met at a time where a seed was being planted for me that I can do and have the impact that I'm meant to have with multitudes of people, millions and millions and millions of people. And so it's like a full circle moment to be sitting here with you as a client. You've been my client for about a year now. And just watching you grow and grow and grow with some of your own beliefs that you held into. So I want to talk about some of those because people always say the truth will set you free. The truth can only set you free when you discern the lie that's holding you back. It starts there. So let's talk about that, Wendy. Let's talk about some of the beliefs that you came into this journey with me with that are now completely different for you and what that looks like.
Yeah, it's interesting because I and many people who are tuning in, may align with this as well. Like, I am an A-type personality control freak. I'm a doer. And for those of you in the energy space, I am very masculine energy dominant. And I was when we met. And one of the things that I remember was two things. It was when I had met you and I had started in the program, I remember you talk a lot about how our mindset really influences the way in which not only do we show up with our clients and the way that we show up when we are in, what I call enrolling clients into their vision and getting them into their program. But it's also this, you have this magical container that you create with this community. And it was something that I had never been a part of. Other containers I had been a part of, I was amongst doers. And when I came into you, when you and I connected, when I joined the program, all of a sudden I was in this energy of like feminine energy. I'm not saying women, there's a difference between feminine ways and feminine energy, but it was like everyone got to be these six-figure earners. And I was like, I want to be a six-figure earner. I'm going to be a and it isn't a matter. What I finally learned is that I didn't have to already be making six figures, that it's a mindset that I take action knowing that that's who I am. That is the business that I've created. Mm-hmm. And it was really, I'm getting goosebumps again. It was really about me grounding myself in my vision, which is to essentially change the stigma around divorce. Mm-hmm. That is my vision. And so as long as I am being that woman who is leaving that legacy, it already happens. And so a lot of the beliefs that I had coming into your group got to shift, as you said, into a place of it's not a matter of if, it's just when. Mm-hmm. So changing my mindset from, is it going to happen? If it happens, to it's already happened. And I surrender to the universe and trust that it has already happened. And I get to be patient with when that comes. Like, I didn't expect my day to turn out the way that it did today. When I woke up this morning, that was not my mentality. But I am being this woman creating this legacy every day of my life. That's how I show up everywhere that I have a presence. And so that is what attracts clients to me.
I love that. It's like the biggest time collapse. People think the biggest time collapse is like, do more, do more, do more. I'm like, no, be more, because then you're on the frequency of what you expect to attract. When you're in that space, you wake up and you have days like this. Like she wasn't like, oh, tomorrow I have this, this, and this, and I'm probably going to make $17,000. No, she woke up this morning being who she is. And in that being called forward the 17K that showed up today in her bank account, with her people saying yes to the offers that she made to them. It's one of the most beautiful things, and it's almost one of the hardest and most difficult things to teach people to do, especially high achievers that are in masculine energy, like you and I both were and still battle against every day.
Every day.
Right? You want to do. Like, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? Tell me exactly what to do. And it's like, no. There's an eventuality to this thing when you know it's done. It's a done deal. It's coming, how it's coming, when it's coming. And what happens is you actually end up speeding up the pace at which it shows up in your world. I hope you guys are catching this, because it's one of the most beautiful gifts I can give you. It takes practice, right? We bob in and out of this every day if it's not our norm, if it's not where we normally are. And there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of women who are mostly in feminine energy, and they have to learn how to do. The clients I serve are the opposite of that. They do all the time, and they have all their lives, and it's worked for them. It's served them to this point, and they wonder, why the heck isn't it working in my business? Because you're trying to get somewhere you haven't experienced yet, right? You can't control it. It's not writing a term paper the day before it's due. It's not that same stuff. It's not coming up with a speech on the fly and having everybody say that was the most incredible speech of the day. It's very different. You're building something for longevity. And so it requires you to be. So let's talk about some of the things that you do that help you step into this energy of being, because I think it's super important. So listen, if you're here and you desire to be a multi-million-dollar business owner, a six-figure earner, that's that messenger assistant. Hilarious. Okay, so I'm going to out myself. So there's a comment assistant. I wanted to try it, and it decides what comments to put up. That was the one it chose. I'm like, what is Nori laughing at? I have no idea. So if you desire that you want to have a six-figure day, a six-figure month, then you must put yourself in the position of it's already done. So when we think about this, when you're talking about feminine and masculine, like let's just say feminine is receiving, masculine is doing. So Wendy, what are some of the things that you have done that has allowed you to do things like bring in the best clients that you've ever had in your business? Clients who pay in full, like one of your clients today was a pay in full client. So again, when I'm doing my clients' numbers, a lot of my clients get paid in full clients. It's something I'm really good at helping people get really, really good at. And so went from
Nori.
I'm about to turn this thing off. A lot of
Oh my goodness.
That is really funny because a lot of us I know that. And Nori's a client, so I know that's you.
And Nori was in one of my summits. So I love that we're coming together in your community. She was a guest on one of my summits. Anyway, small circle we live in.
My train of thought, I don't even know where I was. Oh, if you desire to do all of these things, if you desire to have that in your life, there's some being that has to shift, right? Besides the do, working 24/7. Some of you guys work all weekend. I'm always like fussing at my clients. It's not really a fuss. It's a gentle nudge. I say it in a way that just assumes that they're going to take the weekend off. So then they're like, oh yeah, I was planning on working, but I probably shouldn't. So they end up working less while making more money. So when do you want to share some of the things that you've been leaning into that allow you to attract more of what you want into your life?
Yeah. You preached for a long time, like work less, make more. And I was like, I want that. How do you do that? Like, what do I have to drink in order to make that happen?
You have, I have this bottle of liquid courage. No.
I do have that too. Thank you. Courtesy of you. But no, it's one of those things where like, I'm not kidding you. I have to focus every day on being Wendy, like get out of the doing. The doing is something I'm really good at. It's the being that I'm really struggling with. And what I ended up realizing was that when I am being Wendy, right? And being Wendy, divorce rehab founder, speaker, author, tough, loving divorce coach, when I'm being her, I give off an energy that attracts people to me. I don't have to do anything, right? It's not that I'm doing Wendy, I'm just being Wendy. So the ways that I've learned, you've helped me to see the platforms, right? Like I was doing some of the wrong things, like we all do, right? And you helped me to start paying attention to, you're like, Wendy, wait, but look at what's working for you. Like, look at what is translating for you. And the being Wendy meant giving me more opportunities to, guest on podcasts, to start taking stages, to do more Facebook Lives, to interact more with my audience, right? Just being me, off the cuff, not rehearsed, right? Whereas before it was like, okay, I've got to organize and I've got to script it and I've got to, and don't get me wrong, I do have a content calendar, right? Like I need to know what I'm talking about when, but there's a certain amount of flexibility that gets to come in. And what I always forget is that the work that I did 2 months ago, right, is manifesting today. The work I do today is going to manifest, down the road. Yeah. And so for me, when I was in the doing energy, it was like, why isn't it happening right now? Why did I not make money today? Right. Instead of like, I get to be in this in this flow. And that doesn't mean that I work my butt off when I work, but I rarely work weekends anymore. I have very strict boundaries around my hours with my clients. Like, I get to be me and be an example to my clients of what it is, not only that they get to have, but the type of life that they get to enjoy as well, getting through the other side of this.
Yeah.
And so it really was in just the surrender process that enables me to just like, okay, Wendy, let's do like a mind check here. Like, everything you've been doing is leading up to this. And I know the platforms that convert for me. So why am I off going to try this when I already know what works?
Yes. I think that's such a huge lesson for those of you who are tuning in and listening. There's so many ways to skin a cat, so to speak. Lots of strategies work. But pay attention to what's already working for you and focus on doing more of that than learning the next greatest, newest thing that's out there. I watch so many people chasing their tails, trying to learn how to do this platform and that platform when they could have made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, just following the path and the road that actually works for them. It's one of the first things I do with all of my clients is I sit with them and go, okay, how have you been making money? And then trying to pry from their fingers all the things they think that are on a list that they need to do YouTube, need to do this, need to do that. And I'm like, let all of that go. This gets to be easy. Where have you been getting clients before? And let's focus on that. And it becomes difficult if you're looking around you and it looks like, let me make sure you guys can see my air quotes. It looks like a lot of people are being successful doing all these other things. First of all, they might be lying. Second of all, you don't know what their level of success is. You are just, it's your filter that tells you like, oh, that person looks like they're successful. You don't know their story. And so it's really important to do you. This is where vulnerability and full ownership of who you be comes in. It's not about doing it like Wendy or doing it like Shamika or doing it like whoever else you're watching in your space. It's about understanding that you are enough as you are, even with all your flaws. I have a new title of a talk that I'm going to be doing called Flaunt Your Flaws and Make Millions of Dollars.
I love that.
Because it's the energetics of who you be that attract the people who you are meant to serve. The majority of my clients have a God gift inside of them. It's not just work that they do. It's not a skill set they're using. It's something that becomes very natural. It's born out of their own pain, shame, story, heartache, something they figured out along the way that they're sharing with other people. And in order for them to call those people who need that work, they have to live the work out loud. That's scary. That's where courage comes in. So it's not this vulnerability that people are teaching you, the authenticity where everybody's cussing on social media and upchucking all the things that are happening in their life. It's the courage to be 100% you. And in a world where everyone wants to look like the Kardashians, so much so that they are getting their faces altered to do so. They look like a breed of human beings all in of themselves. I'm like, oh, you guys all have the same parent. No, they're looking the same. So in a world that's like that, being yourself is actually, and this is not my quote, I've seen this somewhere, but in a world of sameness or something like that, being yourself is actually an act of rebellion.
Yep.
But guess what changes and shifts the planet? People who are different, people who rebel against the norm. Those are my ideal clients. That's who Wendy is. Did you hear her vision for her company, her spiritual vision, her deep vision? The mission that she's on is to shift the stigma of divorce. That doesn't happen following what's already been done. So I want you to think about yourself. If you want to make multiples of millions, that first courageous act, I lost my ring and I really want to have it on my finger. It fell off. This is what happens when you lose weight. Your rings just fall off when you do this. That first act of rebellion and that first act of showing up is radically showing up as you. So Wendy, I want you to like share this journey for you because you are in a space, the divorce rehabilitation, divorce coaching, it's a full space.
Very crowded.
Ever since I've been in this industry, I've always run across people who are into divorce coaching, most of them not successful, but that's neither here nor there. And so when you look around and it looks like you're in competition with everyone around you, how do you focus on being you instead of and going against the grain, or just doing what's a divine download for you as opposed to what everybody else is doing?
Yeah, listen, I follow all the divorce folks, on social media. We're all friends. We all are pretty tight and really, there's a tight-knit community that I'm a part of. And, I think that one of the big shifts that you also helped me with, Shamika, was really stepping into and owning who I am, and being different is the secret sauce, right? You model it for us so beautifully that it becomes second nature for us to be able to do that. One of the things that actually makes me very frustrated is when I see these like fluffy, like, let's find love again. Let's go on a magic carpet ride. Like it literally is like nails on a chalkboard to me, because I'm like, that's bull. Like, it's total bull. And the divorce is messy. Divorce is hard. Divorce sucks. And for me, it's like, you know what? I'm literally gonna like kind of open the curtain on what divorce is really like, because if you want the fluff, then you're going to be paying for coaches for the rest of your life. But if you're really committed to wanting to do the work, for me, it's about you're willing to take the coaching, you're willing to be tough love, like everything I am. Like, I have a statement where I say, like, I am a bold, powerful, and authentic leader. I show up as a bold and powerful leader for my clients. So what does that mean? It means that I am the kick in the butt that you know that you need, that you and your friends and your family cannot give to you. It means that I hold you accountable to what it is that you're committing to doing. And it's really just a matter of owning and being me in the space, because no one is me. I don't have competition. I have colleagues. And there have been times where I've gotten on the phone. One of the other things that you've taught me beautifully is I find power in not inviting people into my program, because I'm like, wait, I've identified I cannot help you. Yeah. And I've got all these amazing people that I'm friends with. You should go call and talk to them, because you are not my person. I can't help you. So part of what I've also learned in being me is also owning when I can't help somebody. And that is a huge shift for me, because even 2 years ago, I was like, I money, scarcity, and now I'm like, oh yeah, no, because to me, I'm making room for someone who is my ideal client. I don't want to take on someone who isn't, because they're not going to shift. It's going to take even more energy from the two of us. They're going to be unhappy. And I'd rather free my space and bring in the person that is meant to be my client. And that has been a huge way for me to also identify that I have no competition. Mm-hmm. There is no competition. And I don't run around chasing what my colleagues are doing. I applaud and I promote. I support everything that they're doing, because I'm not everyone's cup of tea. They're not everyone's cup of tea. And when my ideal clients want to find me, it's not very hard. I'm everywhere. So, there's a confidence in that.
Yes, I love it. And there's one thing to say that, and then there's another thing to actually live into it. And that's the difference of what we do. It's not about saying like, I'm a this kind of coach, or I'm a that, and then when it comes down to it, you're in scarcity, you're in lack, you are trying to get any client you can get. You're sad because you don't have 100 people watching your Facebook Live. I'm like, no, everything is meant for the person that it's meant for. It's meant for the people that it's meant for. It's whatever's supposed to be is at an appointed time. And I'm very, very clear who I work with and who I don't. So I don't have a problem turning people away. And actually that's a gift, because you can take on something that occupies the space of the true client you were supposed to have that would have brought you joy, fulfillment, and a lot more money. So there's that too. Yep. If you were to give, I don't know, 2 or 3 points to like people really raising their game and playing a much bigger game in their business so that they could just even cross the 6-figure mark or begin to call in more clients who pay in full. I would say that like the majority of my clients now have way more paid in fulls. Some of them have never had paid in fulls before they work with me. And now it's just a normal, it's almost an expectation like, oh, you need a payment plan. Let me tell you what that looks like. And so if you were to give people 2 to 3 things that are super powerful words of wisdom or points of action that they could possibly take that would get them on the road to their biggest money months ever, whatever that next big revenue goal that they have and the types of clients that they would only dream about, what would that be?
Yeah, I think that the biggest one, and we'll see how many I come up with, but the first one that comes to mind right now is having an abundance mindset. And I mean abundance in everything, right? We put limitations on our time. We put limitations on money. We think that there's limited clients when there's an abundance of everything. There's an abundance of money. There's an abundance of clients. There is an abundance of time. Mm-hmm. And when you allow yourself to see that it is abundant and it's literally just waiting for you to grab it, to take a hold of it, to shift it your direction, it makes a huge difference. I had a very, very deep story around scarcity, and it wasn't until I shifted into abundance. Part of that too was being in your community, right? And seeing like, oh my God, all these other people are, new client here, new client there. And it's not like, why isn't that me? It's like, oh my God, I'm so inspired by all these amazing, that it's like, oh, this person today and that person an hour later. And then tomorrow, 15 people are closing clients. And it's like, oh my God, it's that shift into abundance is really like the biggest number one. Number 2 is also, what is your vision? If you don't have a vision that is bigger than you, what is it that you're trying to create in this world? Whose lives are you trying to touch? Because if your vision isn't bigger than your business, then no wonder you don't wake up with excitement every morning. I mean, I wake up excited every single day of my life that I get to do the work that I do because I get to help one more person shift and live their best life. So come up with like, what is the vision? What is the legacy that you want to leave? Like, not to be morbid, but like when you leave this earth, what do you want to be remembered as? Who do you want to be remembered as? What do you want people to say about you? Right? And listen, I'm a mom too, you guys. Like, of course I want to be remembered as an amazing mom, but I already know I am because my boys know that I am. And my boys know that I am because I get to show up every day and change lives. And I get to inspire them along with a very large audience of divorcees every single day. So that I would say is number 2, is to really make sure that your vision is bigger than your business idea, because your business idea isn't going to be enough to get your tushy out of bed every morning.
Love it.
And then the third thing I would say is that, get into a community of people who are already doing it. One of the biggest shifts that I made, like I was in a community before I joined Shamika, and I was at the top of the community. Like everyone was like aspiring to be me, which is, and I'm not trying to be modest, but it's like, that was great until it wasn't anymore. And I recognized part of what attracted me to Shamika was I wanted to be in a community where I was aspiring to not only be my coach, but to also be like all the other people in the community. I wanted to be surrounded by that energy. I wanted to be surrounded by entrepreneurs who were doing it, who were daily reminders to me that it's possible. And in order to get there, you also get to invest in yourself. I mean, I say this to my clients all the time when I'm doing sales calls where I'm like, if your child needed this, would you even bat an eyelash, or would you just whip down your credit card? But yet when it comes to us, we get, oh, but I don't know. And, oh, that's a lot of money and da, da, da. It's like, and so either that you're worth the investment and the community you're entering into is a no-brainer, or it's not. But it's been a major, major game changer being in this container of this community. So those are the three, I would say.
Love it. So I'm going to recap those for you guys. The first one is shift into abundance mindset. There's more of everything available. There's not limited resources on the planet. So if you want 100 clients, there's 100 waiting for you. They're there already. If you want to make $1 million, there's $1 million in a bucket waiting for you to pick it up. It's there already. There's no competition because no one can be you. So there's this abundance mindset, even to the point, like, don't worry about people being in your programs who do what you do. I have lots of sales coaches in my program. I ain't worried about it, right? Shift into abundance. Second one is big vision is a must. Wendy, you are so smart. All of this is so good.
Thanks.
Having a big vision that propels you forward. Making a lot of money is not enough. What do you plan on doing with the money? Actually, that leads me to just a quick story. When I hit $1 million last year, I was blocked on how I was going to create $1 million. We were doing about $500,000 a year the year previous, and I still didn't know how it was going to happen. I was crunching numbers. I was in the doing. It wasn't until I did something called a living income and expense plan, where I made pockets of, this is what it cost me to be me in the future and what that money was going to go for. Clear as day. Boom. You're definitely doing it this year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it's got to be bigger than you. What are you here to do in the world? Because it also helps you take a stand for people on calls. I know that if I help Wendy make millions of dollars, all the women she's going to impact with her work, there's going to be a huge ripple effect to that. That's going to be generational, because they in turn are going to give that back to their children and their families. And it's going to move on and on and on. And they're going to shift the DNA of how they show up in traumatic situations, how they deal with relationships and possibly avoid divorce, or if they have to deal with a divorce, it's going to be much different. And that comes because I took a stand. So big vision is a must, not just for the making of the money and the calling in for clients, but for taking a stand for clients to invest in themselves with you, which will increase your sales. A community that's already doing it. This goes without saying. This one's a difficult one to see, which is why I do a lot of public sharing of client wins and results, because it may look like the community is doing well. And then you get inside and you're like, Wendy, you're like, wait, I'm the highest level person in this program, and I'm trying to aspire to go somewhere higher than I am. So where do I get my examples? What I'm going to tell you is probably different than most people will tell you. Trust your gut, not what your eyes see, not what you think you know. Not what Facebook ads tell you. Trust your gut. There is an alignment, an energetic alignment when something is for you. Your body always knows. That's why there's something called muscle testing. Your body always knows when something is what you need. Now, fear, if you don't know, like Wendy was talking about, making big investments in order to be inside of these communities. And I've done that to myself. You know, my largest investment to date, it's like $112,000 for one of the mentorship programs I'm in. I just renewed again this year. But that year that I made that 6-figure investment, within 6 months time frame, I had $1 million month. Am I saying it's like a coin where you put in 100K and you get $1 million out? No, but it's definitely an energetic frequency. And it's also an energetic signature to the world that you are serious about what you say that you want. So that's where you have to lean into courage. You can keep investing small and wondering why you aren't surrounded by a community that supports you, and you're not really creating the results that you want, or you're not dreaming anymore, or you used to want to do millions and millions of dollars in a month, or you're surrounded by people who think that's unrealistic. That's not my community. 6 figures in a day in my community is normal. No one's going to go, oh my gosh, how did you do that? They're like, yes, next, put me in, coach. It's normal, but you got to find a community where what you want is already normalized and they are still aspiring to higher. It's not this like, we've arrived because we do whatever we do kind of thing. Yeah. Such beautiful wisdom. So good, so good, so good. I'm going to do one last invitation to Game On Live, Wendy, and then I want you to take us out with just some final words of wisdom. Like, this is your journey. You have done some incredible things. Like, I've watched you double your prices and still get paid in full clients. I've watched you pull all the extra support you were putting into those same programs for less money and have clients get incredible results and renew at your new level. And so I want you to just think about some words that you want to share with the big dreamers that we have that are hanging out with us today, to help encourage them to that next level that they have for themselves. So here's my invite to you guys. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I think I may have a runner. Let me see if I have a runner, because I'm running my own show right now. So let's see. Here it is. Boom. I've got a runner. So here's my runner. Game on Live is coming up November 11th, 12th, and 13th. This is one of the pride and joys of the work that I've created, because it gives me 3 full days to download what has taken me more than a decade to get for myself. It took me 12 long years to cross $1 million in my business, and I'm helping clients do it like that. And so the reason why is because I've already walked a path. I've helped hundreds, if not thousands. I need to go back and redo my numbers. I can probably say to this point, thousands of people do this work and blow their own minds with what's possible. And so it is the lowest investment that you can work with me, but it allows me to sit with you for 3 full days, walking you through this transformation, not just in knowledge, not just in your heart space and spiritually, but just as a full body transformational experience, so that when you step into the room, when you leave on the other side, it is not the same person. You are the most badass power player you have always known yourself to be. GameOnLiveEvent.com is where you go. Right now, I'm doing crazy pants things leading up to the event. So you can get your registration to this event for $297. So I'm going to pop this thing up again, so it goes into the chat. The link is there, GameOnLiveEvent.com. Remember that I said there's a knowing. This isn't about like, go look at the page and see what I'm going to teach. Is she going to teach me how to do organic marketing and all of those things? The people I'm meant to serve are meant to do big things in the world. The vision is way bigger than themselves. They are big in stature to begin with. My clients are giants. Most people in the world don't understand them, don't get them, and can't see them. I am a mirror for those people who are that, because I can hold you to your highest power without me feeling inferior because of it. You can be as powerful as you want to be in my presence, and I will hold you to that high standard until you rise to the occasion. That is the difference in this world. So if that's you, there's something you're feeling on the inside, like, I should probably do this. Then you should. And that's all I'm going to say about it. GameOnLiveEvent.com. The price will continue to increase. I like to reward fast action takers. It's just a thing that I do. It will eventually end up at $1,297. When that's going to happen, I ain't going to tell you. Why? Because I want you to lean into trusting your knower. I want you to lean into the speed of execution over perfection, of having to know everything. Once you got to learn how to trust yourself. Once you get a knowing inside of you, you need to learn how to move. And so guess what? This allows you to practice. If you have that knowing right now in this moment, move your booty. Go to GameOnLiveEvent.com and I will see you in the room. All right. So I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to come back to Wendy, because this isn't about Shamika's wisdom, because there's so much wisdom in the world. I want to share it with you. What do you have for them? What would you say to somebody who's like you, or who's just sitting on the prefaces of greatness in their life, but there may be fear, apprehension, there may be whatever is in the way? What do you got for them?
You know, what came to me to say is something I say to my clients pretty much every day, which is, what you think you create. So if you think in a scarcity mindset, you will create scarcity. And we don't understand how powerful our minds are. Our minds are incredibly powerful beings in and of themselves. And we I always say that it's about listening to sort of like the physicality, not always your head. So when, as you say, like, trust your gut, like I always tell my clients, it's about listening to your body. It's not mind over body, it's body over mind. And so you remembering that if you want to make a change, stop waiting for it to come. You have to make it happen. And it's not in the doing, it's the being. So change your mindset, right? Create what it is that you think and change your thoughts, because that's the only way that you're going to allow yourself to really become and be what the world is waiting for. They're waiting for you. Yeah. There's no crowded space because there's no one who's you. So be you, shift your thoughts, and just let the doing happen from there. So that's what I would say.
So good. It's so funny. The people that I find that are the most stuck are the ones who are trying to be somebody else. Yeah. And they can't figure out why they can't sell. So what she just gave you was golden nuggets. I'm going to share one last thing, just put some things up. Nori said, being in a community where people are embodying possibility helps shift into the abundance mindset. Absolutely. Janelle was saying, yeah, six figures in a day is a regular day for us. And that's so crazy because the majority of the world doesn't even make six figures in a year. What I want you to understand is inside of this community with people like Wendy, myself, Janelle, Nori, that you're watching post, comment, and as we're doing this live, we are operating on the frequency of possibility. Yep. Period. And here's the thing. Not anything is possible. Everything is possible. That's how this chick woke up last year and was like, we just had $1 million month. Where in the planet does that happen? And guess what? We're normalizing that stuff. And so, again, I just want to invite you. It's one of the easiest ways that you can connect with this community. Come hang out with us for 3 days at Game On Live. Wendy, you are an incredible human being, and you're doing such valuable work on the planet and totally changing people's lives and families. And so I just want you to know that I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you.
And being here. I also appreciate you allowing me to guide you on this journey. And I'm looking forward for what we are creating in the year to come.
Me too. Thank you so for having me. Thank you.
Perfect. So guys, we will see you on our next episode of this Believe series. We're going to be running the Believe series, running all the way up until Game On Live, because I want you to see story after story after story after story after story of lives changed, transformation happening, and know that it's possible for you too. Remember, once you see a thing, you can never unsee it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Thank you so much for watching my show, my channel. Here's what I want you to do. If you really love what you've been listening to, I want you to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. No, really, leave a comment. Like right now. I'm not gonna stop talking until you leave a comment. Seriously, leave a comment.